On this episode, Brad and Dude welcome on Troy Bolotnick, the Creative Crusader from Filmland Spirits, as we discuss his decision to jump into the whiskey industry, all while sipping on their award-winning Moonlight Mayhem Extended Cut. Tune in to hear all about it on this episode of The Bourbon Hunters. But before we get started, do you like our podcast? Do you like bourbon gear? Check out our website at www.bourbonhunters.com to check out our bourbon shirts and buy a Bourbon Hunter Kinsey Dram. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us on our hunt for great bourbon. Reward yourself and sit back, grab a pour, kick up your feet, and enjoy. Welcome to another episode of the Bourbon Hunters. I'm Drew Poole. I'm joined by
Rev Ryan.
And today we have Filmland Spirits and Troy Bolotnick. Did I get that right?
You got it perfect.
All right, perfect. So he's joining us today. We have no Tyler. He is in California. He might have been able to join you. Are you in California?
I am. I'm in Los Angeles.
He's in Anaheim.
Yeah.
So that would have been funny. that would have been a first for us having us on site like that. I have a whole bunch of questions. I think just kind of let's go ahead and start with you telling us, if you don't mind, your story behind Filmland Spirits and how it just came to be, and your background as well, just coming from I guess that probably is where the name came from as well, but coming from the movie or Hollywood type industry.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with Filmland Spirits, the company. We're a pretty new spirits company, launched this past September. And the concept behind the company is every product we produce is based on an original movie idea that we create. And it's one that pays homage to the B movies of the 20th century, like the mid-20th century, big over-the-top characters, robots, monsters, like Forbidden Planet and Barbarella, those kind of movies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We pair that with what has turned out to be award-winning quality liquid. So at this point, all of our products have won gold medals and received, a lot of different praise. Which I'd love to go into. And the label for each one of our products is a movie poster painted and illustrated in the style of that mid-20th century movie posters, bright, eye-catching colors, sort of retro-style pulp art.
Yeah.
And
I love the label on this one that I'm looking at right now, so you know.
And we'll get to that.
Yeah,
we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, no, I that's the first thing. And my wife is, I always say she's a package whore, which means she goes and buys wine or vodka or whatever it is she's drinking, food, anything. If it's in a nice package, she's immediately drawn to it, and it doesn't matter what it is, she'll try it out just because it looks good on the shelf. So that immediately caught her eye when it arrived here, and she was like, "Oh, that's really neat." And she read the whole label. She turned around. I mean, it was so funny. She got into that for just a second. So that's
awesome. She's our perfect consumer.
Exactly. She's going to want to try this now that it's open too.
So let's see. So my background, I've done a lot of things in my career, but I came out to LA. I grew up in New York, and I came out to LA 30 years ago to be a screenwriter. And I ended up doing a bit of that and pretty much did every job there is to do in the entertainment business, from production assistant, where I got yelled at for bringing the wrong flavor ice pops to the director, to I directed stuff, produced, edited, did a lot of on-air promo, all kinds of stuff like that. Along the way, became a serial entrepreneur and started, a bunch of different businesses in different fields. So maybe 10 years or so ago, myself and one of my closest friends, Charlie Flint, who's one of my partners in Filmland, he's in Atlanta, I'm in LA. So we started getting into bourbon sort of separately and together. And we started making these annual pilgrimages to Kentucky, the motherland. And so we would go and we would spend like 4 or 5 days and go to like 5 or 6 distilleries a day, like crazy people, right? At this point, we've probably been to over 70 all over the country. And we just fell in love. We fell in love, of course, with the whiskey, but the people and the culture and the cocktails and the lore and just all of it, and the passion and the science and the art, everything that goes into it. And so one of these trips, we're driving from Lexington to Louisville, and I'm staring out the window, watching the cows and the grass and all that go by. And it just hits me, and I turn to him like, we have to do this. We have to do our own brand. So flash forward a bunch of years, I'm sitting in LA with another friend of mine who's helping me get this off the ground. And we're banging our heads against the wall trying to figure out, the concept and what we want to do. And he's a podcast host also, and he starts interviewing me. And he's like, talk to me about what you're passionate about. And I start talking about writing and the movies. And he stops me. He's like, Troy, it's like the only other thing you talk this passionately about is whiskey. You got to find a way to do it together.
Yeah.
And sort of Filmland Spirits just came out of that, and the concept and everything just sort of snowballed and came out of that.
An awesome story. I like that.
One of the things that we always love about bourbon and whiskey is the stories behind it. And those old Kentucky distilleries, they have their own like lore and their own stories and their own things. And then you have the family, like maybe, distilleries that are more micro distilleries or things like that. But like that type of story, that organic type of story where, someone has started somewhere and then they kind of took a 90-degree turn, or should have taken a left turn at Albuquerque. They find their way in here, and then they merge it with something that they already love. I think that's great. I love those types of stories.
Well, how you can take two things you're passionate about, right, and make that into one.
Right. So
well, I'm really good at taking my hobbies and turning them into businesses and then ruining them as hobbies.
Well, I feel like we're soulmates then. In that case. But yeah, go ahead. So you started or came up with the concept there on that podcast. Or that
so we came up with the concept, and it all sort of rolled out from there. So I enlisted, Charlie at that point said, you're doing this with me. And then Charlie's got a background in the entertainment business. He and I have written together. We've written scripts together. And like I said, we've known each other almost 30 years at this point. And then we met through the different process of raising funds and getting involved in the industry. We met some great people. Kristen Kilpack, our VP of sales, who's an industry veteran. She came from Castle and Jefferson's, and Daniel Clark, who's been in the industry for a long time. Most recently, he was at Pernod Ricard, working on Rabbit Hole and Jefferson's and Smooth Ambler. So that's sort of the four of us are the key team, and then we have Steve Canepa, who is acts as our CFO, but more importantly, he's on our blending team. So myself, Charlie, Steve, and one other person do all the blending.
Wow, nice. So this may escape me here, but when you make that decision that you want to start a business like this, obviously, there's probably a lot of hoops just because of the fact that it is liquor or, spirits. So talk about that. What type of hurdles did you have to kind of go over to, get to the point where you're now in a bottle and, able to put these labels on there and everything?
All of them. So, no, you're right. Look, I've started a lot of businesses relative to most people, I'm sure, probably 7 or 8 of them. And there's always a lot of work, especially in California. Oh my gosh, the paperwork and applying for this permit and that license, it's a lot. But with alcohol, it's so regulated that it comes with a lot of other special concerns. So when we first started out, we were thinking, do we want to build a distillery in Los Angeles? And that was definitely part of the plan for a long while. It's in our future one day, but the red tape of getting that going.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to.
I can imagine.
For example, you have to.
Yeah.
You have to have the facility and paying rent on it while you're trying to get your conditional use permit and your alcohol. So you could be paying rent for 2 years, which in LA is not cheap, before you ever find out whether you're going to be allowed to do it.
Right.
So
we've heard about that. We've heard of stories of that where people have had to even get like the Vendome, the still before they even get, their actual DSP approved.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Right.
So that being the case, so what did you decide to do then? Are you sourcing? Are you contract distilling, or what are you guys doing?
Sure. Right now we are sourcing. So we have, our alcohol license, which we got it's boring. In California, there's 75 different kinds of alcohol licenses, and we've actually changed a couple of times depending on how our plan has changed. But we have a Type 5 license, which lets us be a supplier of alcohol, right, and do all the things that we do. But we are sourcing, and we're proudly sourcing. I mean, I've been a fan of a lot of different source products, and as you can tell, myself and Charlie, we're giant whiskey nerds. So this is, super passionate about this, and I have no issue with sourcing.
In the last, 6 years or so, that's just become the, gone from being such a
taboo thing
to such
a new norm.
Almost a norm, or even an accepted thing, or even a sought after thing for the most part.
And so many good products out there.
Yeah.
Right. And so like on the front of our bottle, like I said, it's a movie poster. And if you look at the bottom, it looks like the credits at the bottom of a movie poster.
Yep.
And it says produced on location in Kentucky. And we're big on transparency, so we're not trying to fool anybody. So sometimes that confuses people. We're from our current products are MGP.
Yeah.
We source them from MGP, right? And then we bring them into Kentucky and we age them further. And then we do all the blending and bottling in Kentucky. So it's sort of like the way you go out and you find the best location to produce a movie. We're finding the best location to do everything for that particular product. So we've built up an inventory of barrels that are not just from MGP. We're also in talks to do some contract distilling. So we're looking at doing all of it. And, one day maybe have our own distillery as well, but that's, way down the road.
Sure. And I love how, that almost like the merging of the two worlds is almost like it was meant to be, on location, finding the best shooting locations, best aging locations. That's kind of neat. I like how you've tied all that together when you're talking about it. That's pretty cool.
We try and avoid getting punny, right? But there are like
sometimes you can't help it.
What we're going to talk about, Moonlight Mayhem Extended Cut, right? That word cut applies to film and it applies to whiskey, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of overlap there. An extended cut for us is just, it means more. Just like in an extended cut of a movie, you get the director's commentaries or deleted footage.
Right.
For us, it means more. It means more proof. So if you see a product from us that says extended cut, it's our cast strength or our high proof version.
All right. So, good segue.
I like that. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Good segue. So in front of us today, we have the Moonlight Mayhem. This is the extended cut. So it's the purple label. So let's talk about that a little bit and how it came to be and any story you have behind it. I know there's a whole bunch on the back, but this one it says aged in white American oak from Kentucky, 57.5% or 115 proof. So go ahead and kind of introduce us to that. Tell us the story behind this particular bottle.
Sure. And so in addition to having, the poster in this movie concept, we have our taglines, right? A blockbuster in every bottle or stories you can drink. And the idea is every one of our products is this story. So when you go to our website, there are script pages and trailers and soon to be storyboards. And there's just a lot of content around the story of Moonlight Mayhem. So Moonlight Mayhem is we always say it's a saga of werewolves and bourbon. And it's sort of a Romeo and Juliet with fangs kind of story about a world that's just like ours, but the dominant species on the planet are werewolves. And humans are a minority and they're kept off to the side and controlled. Humans must be supervised at all times kind of thing. And one of, a human guy, young guy in his mid-20s or whatever, he sneaks out of, the human neighborhood and he goes down to where the wolves party at night on Hollywood Boulevard. And he gets a job working in, as a busboy in the Wolves bar and sees this woman across the bar and is just like instantly in love with her. And of course, she's a werewolf and she's the sister of the leader of the pack. And, so it becomes this Romeo and Juliet love story kind of thing. And they have to, sort of escape the life.
I think West Side Story is what I think.
Yeah.
I love that you've gone all in and you have trailers on your website and everything. I didn't realize that. Like, as soon as this is over, I'm going to go get on the website and I want to see these trailers. I'm a big movie person.
Yeah,
so.
Me too. And to me, it's, I don't know, there's something that keeps you engaged more than just with the bottle.
Yeah.
And I think, what's the wine, Brett? 13 Crimes or something or whatever?
Oh, yeah, there's one
19 Crimes.
19 Crimes.
Okay. Yeah. I don't drink wine, so I just see it on the shelf, but I know there's a story behind them. So something that keeps you interested longer than just the open bottle. Yeah. And for us, bourbon's a way of communicating, talking, just, spending time together, sharing stories basically. And I feel like that's what you've kind of encompassed here with this brand. And to me, it's pretty cool. I've been pretty excited about this. We scheduled this a while ago, but we had a whole bunch going on at the end of the year. But I've been pretty excited about this interview just because of the way this was been set up. So
there's characters on the side of the bottle. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's any story behind the characters, if you've just totally generated these out of, your own mind.
Yeah, these are so the left side of the label is all about the story, right? There's a synopsis of the movie, and then there's the bio of the main characters with their pictures, like their profile pictures. The right side of the label is all about, the award-winning great liquid. It's like who's making it, where it's from, the mash bill, what it's made of, everything in detail is on that side. So we're trying to make sure, like I said, transparency and get a little bit of everything. But the characters are completely, in the case of Moonlight Mayhem, the characters are completely out of my brain.
Okay.
We had another name for the product, which for trademark reasons didn't work. And so we changed it. We're actually happier. We think this name is better. But when we first came up with that name kind of informed us of a story. And then I just sat down one day and wrote a treatment. So if you guys are not familiar in the movie business, a treatment is like a 3, 4, 5, maybe 10-page write-up of the plot of the movie.
Executive summary.
Yeah, exactly. So before you write a script, a lot of times you write a treatment, and then it becomes your roadmap for writing the script. So I wrote a treatment, I wrote like a 3-page treatment of the story, and the characters just, and their names and who they are and what they do, everything just sort of came out of that process.
So what I think of as a treatment is in the movie Get Shorty when they're sitting down with Danny DeVito, and they're there to try to sell him on one movie, but then they end up talking about the what is it, Shylock? Or whatever the word is. And they end up basically creating a movie as they're sitting there on the couch. That's kind of what I mean. And I don't know if that's exactly the same, but to me, that's what I kind of think of as a treatment. But
right. Well, that's, there's in Hollywood, there's the elevator pitch. Tell me, in 2 sentences, 30 seconds, tell me what your story is, that kind of thing. That scene you just described, I've lived that.
I love that movie. That is honestly, that's one of my favorite movies. Just from the editing, to the story itself, I just think it's outstanding.
I love that movie too.
Yeah, I mean, and I've noticed that complete segue, but Archer, I've noticed one of my favorite movies ever of all time from an editing standpoint, just because of the way they edited things together, was The Fifth Element. So I loved how they would be in the middle of talking about one thing and like the sentence they would cut to would go right into the next scene of somewhere else, completely different topic. But somehow they managed to edit it to the way where that sentence led into the next scene. Archer does that nonstop. It's crazy. They'll be in the middle of it and the next scene finishes the sentence from the scene before, and it's just crazy. I don't know if you ever watch Archer, but it's
I gotta tell you, I love Archer.
I've been told that I am Archer is what I started watching it because I had never seen it before, and I just binged I think 11 or whatever 12 seasons that it is so far in like a month and a half.
Right. I'm behind a few seasons because I've been busy launching a whiskey company. But years ago, I ended up in the hospital for some surgery or whatever, but I had to lay in bed for like 5 days straight. And all I had was my iPad and Netflix. And at the time, I think it was 5 or 6 seasons of Archer. I just binged it. That's all I did was watch it.
It is so good, and it's rewatchable, and it's so snappy. Like the dialogue, it's just crazy.
I love witty things like that.
Yeah, and it's all like sexual innuendos, and it's nonstop, man. It's
completely. It's that I try to explain to people it's so inappropriate. But that's what makes it funny. Like we're all in on the joke. It's inappropriate. Nobody should ever speak this way in real life. but it's making fun of the world in itself for that. And it
does a good job of putting a magnifying glass on the world. And and they're always drinking bourbon, which is another part that I just love. So back to Moonlight Mayhem here. We've got Tommy Dawson, Sylvain Saxon, and then I'm assuming maybe her brother Slate Saxon.
Yes.
Those are the three main characters on this, and there's a little QR code on the side of the bottle. Does that lead to the website and that specific?
Yeah, that'll take you to the website and get you into that story. And like I said, the script pages, you can download the movie poster, you can buy the movie poster, that kind of stuff.
Okay. So we're 20 minutes into this. We haven't nosed. We haven't tasted anything. So let's introduce the bourbon here. Again, this is a cask strength bourbon. This one is, and I'm reading because it's all made out to look like a movie poster. So I'm trying to break down and find all the stuff on here. But it says 75% corn, 21% rye, 4% malted barley. It's a number 4 char, small batch. Let's see what else am I missing here? It's got your name on there and everyone else's name. Yeah, Steve, Charlie, and 21 and plus is what it says. Like for PG, yeah, that's pretty cool.
That is good. You put a lot of time and thought into all of these little minute details.
Yeah, and I love it. It's really cool.
Yeah, we're detail guys. Like when you asked me earlier, the obstacles I had to overcome to launch the company. It's just I'm a very detailed person. My close coworkers would call me anal, but I before I do anything, I research the hell out of it, and plan every little step so I can, because I know no matter how much I do that, there's still going to be things that go wrong and still things I can't anticipate, but I can cut those down by being ultra prepared. And then on the creative side, we just love it. It's fun. Like all those little things just came out of, conversations or brainstorming or just sitting and daydreaming. And, it's just fun to have all that in there.
No, that is, I mean, to me, that's when I do anything creative, that's almost the most fun part about any process is that creative part leading up to whatever the finished product is. Let's talk about the actual bourbon here. I know we've talked about the bottle and we always like to add sometimes our review of the bottles and the glassware and the labels and stuff. And I'll tell you right out of the gates, this is one of those ones that's immediately going to grab your eye on a shelf in a store. But also the bottle itself is, I don't want to call it ornate, but it's almost like maybe like an Art Deco. I don't know if that's the right.
It's not almost like that. It is like that. That's
all right.
You're actually the first person who said that to me without me having to say it to them. So I love it.
Wow. All right. So
good
some
job.
of those classes in college paid off.
Yeah. Good work.
Yeah.
But there's just something about it that makes me feel like, and I honestly feel like this is a bottle that you would see in like a 50s movie.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it. And like, so everything about it, like you said, all those little details from the movie poster looking like to me, a 50s, monster movie, to the glass in the bottle looking like that, to even the cork and everything about it, just to me looks like something from that era. So that's congratulations on that, because that all looks good and it's all tied together.
Thank you. And it was, the bottle is custom, completely designed from scratch and exactly meant to have an Art Deco style to it, along with various elements of the movie making world. So if you you mentioned the closure, it's sort of a combination between a film can, and a film reel.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
See, okay.
And then the bottom element, the embossed bottom element, the whole bottom of the bottle is a kinetoscope. Like that first Edison, horse running in a circle movie that he created. That's those are meant to represent cells of film.
Huh.
That's cool.
That's really cool.
That's really cool.
And I always say about the bottle, it's like when you go into a movie theater, like an Art Deco movie theater out here in LA, we still have a bunch of classic movie theaters where you walk in and you just, it's stunning and it looks like it's from the 30s or 40s. Everything that surrounds the screen, the proscenium, it's all that style. What comes up on the screen is the star, and it could be a cartoon, it could be a romantic comedy, it could be an action movie. So the star is surrounded by this beautiful, elegant Art Deco. So that's kind of how we look at this. The star is the liquid and the movie poster surrounded by this elegant Art Deco bottle.
I like it.
Me too. That's a great story. All of it. I love that.
Seriously. So let's nose this.
Okay.
So this over here, even though we do look similar, he does have a much better nose for smelling than I do. So we call him the people's schnoz. But I'll let him take first crack at it here.
The first thing I get is cherry.
Yeah.
Cherry jumps out at me.
Yeah, I get cherry like crazy. It's definitely got that dark cherry kind of.
Dark cherry. Maraschino. Luxardo. That's the word I'm looking for. Luxardo.
Yeah. But yeah, I get that for days. That's the first thing that hits me in the nose.
Yeah. Like at the end of an old fashioned when there's like you eat that cherry at the bottom.
Yeah.
That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah. Now after that kind of dissipates, to me, some of the corn, I feel like some of that corn actually comes through just very, very briefly at the end. So it smells like a bourbon, which is good. That's a good start. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into this. And I don't know if you've got any there with you, but
I do.
Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers. Join us. Ooh, very nice mouthfeel.
Yeah. I was going to say the same thing. I wouldn't say it's like crazy viscous, but it definitely has a nice viscosity to it. And it's got a nice lasting finish, which could be the cast strength, but I don't think it is. It's almost like that rye is kind of taking hold a little bit. That's good. Yeah. So for 115 proof, right? Is that what we said?
Yes.
115 proof. Yeah. That's, I would say that it drinks probably closer to like a Weller Antique from a proof perspective, like a 107, something like that. So
it's not harsh by any means. Like,
yeah, it's not a bad 115 proof. It's a nice, easy drinking 115 proof for me.
Man, there's a cherry I'm getting on the back of my palate too. I don't know. It's like a medicinal cherry or what it is.
Almost like the, lozenge.
Like a Luden's cough drop.
Almost. Yeah.
I like that.
See, I'm not interjecting because I don't like to lead the witness when it comes to tasting.
And I'd rather you not.
But,
actually, I'd like us, to get there on our own, and then you throw in some things that we might just be missing.
Yeah.
I do feel like a lot of times suggestion may not necessarily.
Ooh, chocolate now. So now it just took. I don't know if it was
second drink finish. It was on the back end for me.
And I haven't had anything to drink today, right? So going straight into a 115, that initial like visceral reaction, some of those flavors can be masked by that. But that second drink that I had, man, a lot of chocolate came through on that one.
Yeah, and it was almost on the back end of at the finish of it. I got almost like an explosion of chocolate. But I am still getting that cherry. It's almost like a chocolate cherry, chocolate covered cherry or something like that to me. But now it's not. It doesn't seem as medicinal to me anymore.
I agree. There was that first drink where it felt more like that medicinal
and that could have been
cherry.
Just that visceral reaction to me. But no, this is good. It's always good to me when a bourbon or any type of whiskey, the second drink gets better than the third drink, and then it just kind of keeps growing on you as you drink it. And I feel like that's what this one's going to do with each drink.
Still has a very good tongue coating, and that's a big thing for me.
Yeah,
I don't like when a drink finishes too quick. When you drink it, you taste it, and it's gone. I like to have that lasting flavor, that viscosity, even though it may not just be like viscosity, but that lingering flavor on my tongue. And this has that. That's great.
So I'll tell you. First of all, I'm wondering. I was just wondering. Did you read the tasting notes? Because oh my god,
no, I didn't either. No, I did.
Chocolate covered cherries is what I always say. That's literally from day one what I've been saying to people. So you nailed it.
That's right there on the label too.
Yeah, I was too busy. This reminded me like of American Graffiti or something when I very first looked at it. I don't know why.
It's 1950s. It's that same era.
Yeah. And so just I was actually stuck in the label more than anything, or the movie poster.
To me, it immediately reminded me of the werewolf movies. That's what it reminded me of, or like the movie or the Michael Jackson Thriller almost.
Oh yeah,
like the way
Thriller,
the way they're running away from the people in the background.
Yep.
I know that's zombies, but just kind of to me that's the vibe I was getting was kind of neat.
So Brett, you mentioned the finish, and when we were blending this, we were trying different proofs and different ratios and all of that. And we have you're drinking Moonlight Mayhem Extended Cut. We have Moonlight Mayhem, which is a 94 proof version of the same blend, right? Which is the regular product. But when we put this Extended Cut together and we tasted it, we were like, been tasting a lot and we were doing a lot of different things, and we tasted it and then we started talking about something else. And like a minute and a half, 2 minutes later, I turned to the team and I was like, "Are you guys still tasting new things?" I'm like, there's something, but it just kind of keeps going and changing from chocolate to wood back to a little bit of sweetness. And I was like, that's it. This is cool. The finish on this is amazing. And we stopped there and we said, this is it. This is the one.
And that's what I love about, and I know I bring this up a lot of times, but like when people will talk about, and I know blends has its detractors and its fans, but like you have people that say, oh, if you just want to, have blends just by ancient age, 10 star, which, on first drink, I think they're very, very similar. But as you keep drinking the blends, it starts to get a little bit more depth to it, a little bit more complexity to it. And the ancient age 10 star just kind of starts to fall off. And I know that that's a very, very minimal kind of, I guess, comparison here, but I like bourbons that as you keep drinking it throughout the evening, or, if you put a nice pour into your glass and by the time you get to the bottom of that glass, you want more because it's still doing things that you're like, oh, wow, I didn't get that the first drink or the third drink or whatever. And this is one of those. I think this is a great blend. This is a good bourbon.
The mouthfeel in this is great. Like, I'm so big on that. Like, that can something can have great flavor, but if the mouthfeel's not there, I'm like, I don't want it.
Yeah, that's your big thing.
That's seriously, and I feel like whatever. But I love the mouthfeel on this. It's really good.
Glad that's important to me too. That was a big part of it. Like when we started the blending process, I laid out, what I thought my goals were, and each of the team did, and mouthfeel is always important to me.
And I've learned like a lower entry proof gives me that mouthfeel that I want. So obviously you probably don't know, but I'm very curious. Like the entry proof on this was probably lower, and so this is a great product.
If it's MGP, if that's what this is, then they might be, just from a economics perspective, using as high of an entry proof as they can. But
it doesn't taste like it, because usually they don't have this.
Well, and one of the reasons that you get that lack of viscosity from a higher entry proof is because then by the time they proof it back down, they've added so much water to it that it's not as viscous. Now, if this is cask strength, then that's, you still can have that viscosity. So sometimes in a cask strength, that entry proof doesn't make a difference.
Right. I'll tell you, the entry proof on this, as with almost all MGPs, 120.
Yeah. I was going to say probably pretty high.
Yeah.
After 4 years, it was down to about where it is now, 115, because this is cask strength. This is, we blended, I think, 8 barrels to make this batch.
Oh, wow.
And those barrels, after they blended, were sitting there at 115. And that's where we bottled it. We added no water to this.
I didn't know if you proofed it to 115 from something, but that's great that's like kind of like uncut, how it blended.
Yeah. Now the regular Moonlight Mayhem is proofed down to 94. Because with that product, we said, look, we're whiskey nerds, we're bourbon nerds, and we love high proof stuff, but we wanted to create a product, a bourbon that would appeal to new bourbon drinkers, because we think our label is going to attract a lot of new drinkers, at least new bourbon drinkers, but also have enough complexity in it that a seasoned drinker is going to enjoy it, as well. But this cask strength, we made this, for us.
Yeah.
For guys like you, for guys like us who I want to sit here, I want to sip on this neat. I want something that is complex with a lot of flavor and a lot of, just finish and all kinds of things going on in it.
I can see lots of bar owners wanting this like in their bar.
Just flashy.
Oh yeah, I just think it just grabs your attention. Like if I were a bar owner, I would be like, I want that on my shelf.
It just looks really cool.
Yeah.
To be honest,
I like that, and I think you should tell every bar owner you know.
Well, and to be fair, I've had this now, I think, since November, and it's been sitting dead center in my back shelf, and I've got a little speakeasy hidden room in the back that holds all my bourbon, and I've got a little set of cabinets and a counter, and it's been sitting dead center because it's a tall bottle, and it's a nice, colorful, just catch your attention bottle. So it's just been sitting there looking pretty for about a month and a half, 2 months now. So, yeah. One thing I will say is we don't ever open these bottles until the day of the recording, and we don't. So like our reaction to this stuff, and if you've been listening to our podcast, you already know this, but our reaction to these things that are sent to us are the day of. Like at the moment we're drinking it, it's the first time we've had any of it.
Yeah, we didn't have this, a month ago for Christmas.
We just opened it right before you joined.
Awesome.
And we poured it, let it sit for about maybe 10 minutes before we it's because it was 20 minutes into the episode before we even so it's probably 30 minutes of sitting in the glass before we even touched it. But this is our first reaction to this, and this is our first taste of it. I'm sold. I like this, and I know there's more to your story, so I don't want to cut that off, but as far as availability is concerned, I have 2 questions, I guess. Availability statewide, like how many are you in? But then also you said 8 barrels. So after those 8 barrels, I want to know what your yield was as far as bottles, but also what you do when those 8 barrels are done. Is Moonlight Mayhem done and you move on to the next movie? Okay.
No.
So a lot of questions there.
Right. I'll try and go in reverse order. And when I forget the first one, you'll have to remind me. I've already forgotten all of them, actually.
So,
no, I'm kidding. Okay. We each batch is going to be 8 to 10 barrels. This one was 8. But we actually blend multiple batches in the same blending session. So if you look on the label, you'll see it's batch probably ME01.
Oh, okay.
Which is Moonlight Extended 01. And then each batch is named. So in that credit section on the label, you'll see this batch is called Love at First Bite.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. And so when we go on to the second batch, it'll have a different name as well.
Okay.
We
shouldn't have opened this. This is ME01.
I know. This is 01.
I have bottle number 1 here on the shelf that
that's cool.
It's in my whiskey vault, but I have to be very careful I don't accidentally open that one, right? Because that one's meant to stay there. But we just, we go on, and the next batch will have a different name, and we've got a lot of different names. And the names all have to do with the story, something about, the character. I think batch number 2 of Moonlight Mayhem is Sylvain's Cut. I forget now what we named it, but it's it's all related to the characters or the story.
I don't see this bottle lasting very long. That's pretty good. I'm serious.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
so where do you ship to again?
Okay, thank you. That was nicely done.
Yeah. So that was a good segue, Brett.
So all right. So we're available for local distribution in California and Kentucky. So we purposely started that way, the home of the movies and the home of bourbon. Yeah. We wanted to be in both.
That's good.
And then we're available to ship from filmlandspirits.com to about 36, 37 states. Oh. And also from Reserve.
Not one of them.
No, unfortunately, Ohio is not. Nobody seems to ship there.
No, we're not allowed to receive liquor shipments here.
Right.
I mean, unless it's like a free shipment from a sample like this, that's fine. But you're not allowed to purchase and have shipped to Ohio.
Right. Well, if you're in the right part of the state and you can drive across the bridge to Kentucky, we're in tons of places in Louisville and Lexington and Bardstown.
Yeah. Okay.
Kroger,
well, that's good to know.
Wine and Spirits all over the state.
All right.
And then reservebar.com also ships to about the same number of states, so available from both of those places. There are a bunch of places in California that carry it that also have online business that will ship to a variety of different states. So if you go to our website, there's a store locator, and it'll tell you whether they, what products they have and where they ship.
That's good.
Okay.
I'll tell you what. I mean,
through that later.
We've had a lot of I don't want to call them startups. That's my industry, but like micros and I guess the craft.
We're a startup.
Yeah, I mean you're a startup technically, I guess. We've had a lot of them on our show. That's what we tend to lean toward as much because we're a smaller podcast, and so we want to give those people a little bit of get their
product, share their product.
And we've had some misses for sure.
We have,
and we've had some really good stuff, but this is definitely
this is one of the best we've had.
Yeah, I will say that on the show.
And that's not like you can listen to the other episode. We don't say
we don't generally volunteer that.
Well, no, I appreciate it. Look, this has gotten a lot of praise, which I'm so thankful for. Long before we ever put it on the shelf, it won a gold medal from the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. Right. And then right at the end of the year here, between Christmas and New Year's, we found out that we were rated 93 out of 100 by Whiskey Advocate in their winter edition, which puts us tied for third out of 160 whiskeys they rated in their winter edition.
Wow.
So we were super excited about that as well. So it gets a lot of, I can't think of anybody who hasn't enjoyed this on some level or another.
And here's the thing, like I know you're sourcing at the moment and thinking about contract distilling and potentially at some point in the future opening your own distillery or doing your own distilling, I should say. One of the things I'll say is it takes talent, might not be the right word, but something. It takes, a nose or a tongue, I guess, to do blending and figure out where that's going to be. I mean, one of the other places that I think does a great job with that, that we've had actually on the show, they're probably one of the other ones that I would really, really praise highly is Smoke Wagon. Mm-hmm. And, they do a great job. Plus, he's just a character in and of himself. You could probably do a movie poster of just him being some sort of standalone guy, but like
handlebar mustache and like dueling pistols.
But that's what I mean. Like, I think if it was easy, everyone would be doing it.
Right.
And I don't think it's easy because I know I probably couldn't do it, at least not with any type of accuracy where maybe I might stumble onto something. So when you come across a place like this or Smoke Wagon or whoever that seems to get it and seems to understand how that blending process works and how to come up with a good product, I think that's a good thing. And I think there's something to that. So I'm giving a compliment if that wasn't clear.
No, it was clear. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
So great job on this. I mean, this is outstanding. I am really enjoying this, and the fact that it's batch one, that's of this particular one. So that being said, what else do you have available? And like Moonlight Mayhem's one, obviously, and I see another poster back over.
And I was going to ask about that, the green poster.
Yeah. The green. So Moonlight Mayhem, the regular edition, 94 proof. That's the orangey red yellow label, and then Moonlight Mayhem Extended Cut, the purple label that we've been drinking. Both bourbons, both the same mash bill.
Okay.
Just different proofs. The green poster that you're looking at over my shoulder, that's Rise of the Robots. Serve the drink, save the world.
Nice.
So Rise of the Robots is our rye. It's a 94 proof rye. This is a story about a future where technology has been outlawed. and a fallen technology titan builds an army of robotic bartenders to take over the world. And our heroine, Courtney, bartender turned action hero, has to save the world. Right? It's those big over-the-top stories, literally robots, that kind of thing. And I have here, if you guys can see, I have a bottle. I know your listeners can't see it, but they can go to our website and check it out.
I can take some screenshots and maybe post this. That's right. Good. Yeah.
Right. You can also, we're all over. We're on Instagram at Filmland Spirits and Facebook at Filmland Spirits. And so you can see images of the bottles. You can watch the trailers on Instagram and Facebook as well.
I'm going to have to follow.
I'll be subscribing after the show.
Exactly.
Awesome.
I love that stuff.
This was actually the first label we did. So even though the products all came out on the same day, we did this many months in advance of the other ones, because this idea was just the very, like within seconds of saying we should do movies and whiskey together, I said originally it was called Rise of the Robot Bartenders, and then we took off the bartenders because it didn't fit.
Yeah.
Right? But
it's a lot of words.
Yeah, exactly. But B movies have like a rhythm to them. The titles, like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, right?
Yeah.
That's why Rise of the Robot Bartenders had that rhythm. But
no, it did.
It was outvoted.
Right.
We had to take it off.
Yeah. But the label or the movie poster, or whatever you want to call it, is it Barbarella? Is that the right word?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of feel I see.
Yeah.
She's wearing a lot more clothing. But like I kind of get that kind of feel, like like I look over the shoulder kind of. I don't know. That's what I see immediately. I'm sure that if I look through some of those other things, I could probably come up with some other stuff. But that's the immediate think that I get.
I see it as well, 100%.
Yeah, when we, and eventually we'll put some of this stuff on our website and on social media, but we spent 2 years developing this before we launched. And so our very early concepts, when we were raising money and proving this all out, I was using existing movie posters to mock up this stuff.
Yeah.
And so Barbarella, Forbidden Planet. Do you guys know the movie Forbidden Planet?
Yeah.
Right. And Robbie the Robot. It's got the robot on the poster carrying the woman, who's passed out or whatever. Just that was a very classic kind of, mid 20th century, although that's a little, 50s, 60s, whatever kind of feel. And so for a very long time in all of our, pitch decks and all that, it was Rise of the Robots had a picture of Forbidden Planet on it, just to, give the feel and the idea.
Yeah. No, I think you guys are nailing it from that perspective. Like the feel, if you're going mid-century, the feel is there. You guys are nailing that. So let's talk about that. Who designs the labels? I know you have ideas for it, but who actually comes up and does the labels? Is it one of you, or are you sourcing that out to someone?
Right, sure. So far, I mean, we're a very collaborative team, but in the beginning, this was me and one of my other partners, Rick, doing all this. But so I would go into Photoshop and I would create the concept. So I would mock it up using found elements. So, not Forbidden Planet, but now I would just go grab images and stock photos and cut and paste and edit and draw and do whatever to get an idea. And I did, probably 70 different ones at developing these labels, especially on Moonlight Mayhem. And then once we got to something we thought was good, then we did each label different ways. One of them we worked with an agency, who then brought in an artist, and then on one of them we actually just brought in the artist directly, and I just worked directly with him, giving him feedbacks and notes and just sort of collaborating.
That's cool. So I love that kind of the way that all comes about. I don't know, there's something about that for me, that the artistic side. I have a shirt business, so a lot of borrowing that happens when I made an Archer shirt, for example, that's actually in the vein of a you saw it the other night, right?
I feel like I did.
I had it on at the Chili Cook.
Yeah.
And it's basically in the vein of like a bourbon shirt.
Uh-huh.
And it's Archer, and it's the bourbon he's drinking every episode. It's like Old Bunham or something like that. Or
right.
I don't remember what it is right now.
Oh, I want one of those.
Well, I'll send you one. And I'll send you a Bourbon Hunters Kinsey drink.
Oh yeah.
I'll just have to get your address, but I will send you one.
All right, I'll have to get you guys some T-shirts too. We got Rise of the Robots T-shirts, and
I'll wear that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But no, seriously, one of the questions I had for you is, you talked about trailers. Do you actually go out and hire like actors and actresses and stuff to do trailers, or how do you do that?
All right. So one thing I want to clarify is nothing on our final label is borrowed. That's all original artwork. We just borrow to create the concept or whatever, but it's all original. It's all ours.
Sure.
So the trailers right now are animatic. So they're using our still images from the bottle and the posters and creating movement with them. So I actually edited those trailers and wrote those and edited those. So we're not going out and shooting trailers at this point. We're not a movie company. That's not our intention, right? But we'll continue to do new ones and evolve those. And as we put out new products, there'll be one for every product.
So yeah, keep doing the trailers, man. I'm so intrigued by these. Like, I can't wait to watch these.
That's what I'm doing as soon as this
I know, right? I want to watch these. Can we cut this so I can watch them? No, I'm kidding.
No, that's cool. All right, so we've talked about 2 of your products. That's what you have right now. The 2.
We have the 2 Moonlight Mayhems and the Rise of the Robots Rye.
Oh, okay, yeah. 3, I guess technically, but so what are your plans moving forward? Do you have other ones that you're adding to the mix, or is it just going to be those 2 moving forward, or what are your plans?
Yeah, so these products that we have right now, these are our core products. We intend to always have these. There will be sequels to these, right? So that will vary one way or another. We use it like extended cut as our cast strength or our high proof versions. We also have coming down the road remastered, which will be our finished products.
Oh, that's a good idea.
That's really smart.
And then we have producer's cut, which is our single barrels. So depending on how life goes and what happens, Rise of the Robots and Moonlight Mayhem will get different kinds of treatments like that. But we also have completely new products coming as well. So I'm probably not supposed to talk about this, but the first the first thing that's coming in the spring is actually a store pick single barrel program for Moonlight Mayhem. So I'll actually be in Kentucky next week picking the sort of the playing field of all the barrels that we're going to offer as potential single barrels. Charlie and I'll be there together doing that.
Nice.
And then we have a product we just figured out this morning, scheduled for or planned for the fall, and another one for this time next year.
So are those going to be recurring products?
The one in the fall definitely will be. The one in January is going to be very limited edition, may not recur.
Okay.
All right. Well, the one in January, we may need to have you back on as a sequel to this podcast.
All right.
Oh, you can even do like a whole sequel thing with it as well for the podcast.
To use industry terms. No, I love what you're doing. Producer's cut or director's cut or whatever.
Yes,
but
no one's doing that. That is so.
But then what was the finished? It was
remastered.
Remastered. Yeah,
yes, that's great. That's brilliant. Right. No,
that's and those. I always like to joke because I am so detailed. Those are all trademarks of Filmland Spirits.
All right. Fair enough. I guess we're not using that.
Right.
No, that's awesome. I love that. I mean, I'm a huge movie guy.
Yeah, I love movies. I watch movies more than TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
I watch a good mix. And I used to travel all the time for work, so I would always just load up my iPad before I got on a plane, TV shows, movies, whatever. And I just love movies, man. I love them. I don't know what it is, it just transports you somewhere. So like the feel of these bottles, the feel of, the stories behind them and everything, what you guys are doing and the stories you're telling and the way that you're tying this all back to movies and Hollywood type stuff, it's cool to me. I love it. I'm a fan already.
Very cool. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So you already kind of mentioned it, but let's talk about where we can find you. You mentioned Instagram, Facebook, I think, and your website, but go ahead and do those again.
Sure, absolutely. So on Instagram, Facebook is just at Filmland Spirits. On the website, it's filmlandspirits.com. And so you go to our online store. We got one online store where you can do merchandise, hats and posters and T-shirts and Filmland tasting glasses. And then the other online store is all for the products themselves. We have a special on there where it's a bundle. We just put this up. So if you click it, you end up saving like 10% or something like that off all 3 bottles at once. We also did something for you guys, for any of your listeners. We have a promo code Hunters10. So it's Hunters10, the number's 10, Hunters10. Put that in, you get $10 off every single bottle you buy.
And we'll also post that on Instagram. But if you're listening, go to Filmland Spirits. What was it? Filmlandspirits.com, right?
Yes.
And
order the extended cut.
Order the extended cut. If you're in a place that will receive shipments, order the extended cut. It's good.
Yeah, you will not regret it.
I'm thinking about getting a P.O. box in a state where you got shipped to.
Right. Or just make a Kentucky run.
Yeah, right. That works too.
And we're also, like we said, we're available for local distribution in Kentucky. In Kentucky, we're a little bit on premise, mostly off premise. So retail stores, that kind of thing. We're in, like I said, Kroger Wine and Spirits. We're in Justin's House of Bourbon. We're in Westport Whiskey and Wine. These are all stores that when I made, Charlie and I were making our pilgrimages to Kentucky, these are all stores we went to taste. You know, I spent a ton of time in that back room at Westport Whiskey and Wine.
We were just there in December. And in fact, when we were there in December, I saw a bottle of the Moonlight Mayhem. I don't think it was the extended cut. It might have been. But I did see a bottle, and I pointed it out to Tyler. He just isn't here tonight. But I pointed it out to him, and I was like, oh, my gosh. And it was pretty funny. But the day we were there, who was there the day we were there? Who was the company?
I can't remember their name right now.
It wasn't Nashville Barrel.
No.
And so they were taking up all our time. We were doing drinks. We were there with the host of Mash and Drum. And so we were sitting there like he was getting all this attention. They were just giving us all these free drinks. So we were a little preoccupied and distracted. But no, Westport Whiskey and Wine is one of our stops. Every time we go.
Every time, we always make a stop there.
They always have a great selection of barrel picks.
Smart on your half for putting it there. So
yeah, no, that's a good place. That's a good place to be for sure.
Yeah, when we started, I would say to the guys, I'm like, look, the stores that we nerded out and were consumers of for all these years in Kentucky, I can't wait to see our stuff on their shelf, and we want to support them as well. So we definitely there are some other places that we've spent a lot of time in Lexington and Bardstown that we're working on getting our product as well.
Yeah. I think I found out about Westport Whiskey and Wine through the Bourbon Road, who actually did a review of your Moonlight Mayhem about a month ago.
And Big Chief, I sat with Big Chief in Kentucky in October, and we did a podcast.
Oh yeah, nice. Did you? No, he just left. He actually just moved to Texas, so he's now part of the Bourbon Life. So so he just moved on to that. He got a job somehow with the Coast Guard or whatever, a recruiter or something like that. So he just moved to Texas. So he just left the Bourbon Road, and now he's part of the Bourbon Life. So
okay,
yeah. But Bourbon Road's still going on. They just lost the Big Chief. That's all. But he was a character. I'll tell you. He still is a character.
Still is, yeah.
But we did a podcast with him in Justin's House of Bourbon.
Okay.
You weren't there actually. That was 2 years ago.
Yeah. When that was the year I couldn't go.
Yeah. But yeah, so you were talking about earlier how you and your buddies would go on this annual pilgrimage to Kentucky. We do the same thing. Tyler, who's not here tonight, his birthday is basically this. Right around the same weekend as Repeal Weekend in Kentucky. So I think his is December 4th and December 5th, I think, is Repeal Day.
Yeah, it is.
So we would go to Kentucky for his birthday. This was our 4th year.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we call it the Bourbon Trail Blitz because we do it in 2 days and we hit like 12 distilleries.
And like you were saying, right? You're hitting like 5-6 a day.
When you were talking about that, we just looked at each other like, yeah, we know what you're
that
doing.
feeling.
But we hit as many as we can. We just hit gift shops. We do a couple of tours. We do a couple of tastings. But for the most part, it's gift shops and then on to the next one. So. But,
we try and if we've never been there, we try and do a tour of some kind. Or if we've been there, we try and then do like a tour with the head distiller or whatever.
Yeah. We don't have that pool yet, but we're working on it. We're slowly getting there. But, yeah, head distillers, we haven't quite gotten that pool
but you
yet.
know what the best is when you stumble upon a small distillery and you walk in and you can tell the guy that is scrubbing the tanks and doing everything owns the joint.
Yeah.
And he just starts talking to you and you sit there and he goes under the sink in the back room and pulls out a jug. And he's like, this is the first stuff I ever distilled. And you sit there drinking it with him. I can't tell you how many times that's something like that has happened to us. And those are the best stories and the best adventures.
So I've never had that happen to us on our Bourbon Blitz, but when I've gone with, I go a lot of times on barrel picks with Bourbon Enthusiasts and also with Jason from Mash and Drum. And every time we go down there, they're treated like royalty. And we'll go into a back room and they'll pull out some stuff that, it's crazy. Every time I go down there with those guys, that type of stuff happens. Exactly what you just said. It's crazy. So anything that you didn't get to in the episode that you want to get to? I think we're coming up on the hour, so I want to make sure to, be aware of your time, but also just make sure you get everything in that you wanted to get in. No,
I think we did. You guys are great. I appreciate the time. I appreciate being here. We're super excited to be on the market. We got so much coming. We appreciate all the support for everybody who's already gone out and purchased our products or, participated, but please follow us on social media, Instagram and Facebook. And you can DM us. We're really responsive. I try and get in there at least a couple of times a day and respond to anybody directly myself.
Awesome.
Or you can email us at info@filmlandspirits.com, and I try and respond myself as much as I can.
That's awesome. I think that makes a big difference too when you actually get feedback and responsiveness from the people that are actually involved, not just some marketing person that's monitoring the Instagram page or whatever. Mm-hmm. So that's cool. Yeah, I know Brett said it. I'm going to do it as soon as we're done here, but I'm going to follow you guys. Give a follow on Instagram. This Filmland Spirits. I mean, go to their website, use the $10 off code, and that's $10 per bottle. So make sure you do that.
Stock up.
Yeah, stock up, because this is good stuff.
Agree.
I really enjoyed this.
No, Troy, I'll be looking for this in Kentucky when we go.
Yeah, I will be too. Troy, thank you for joining us. This has been a nice hour.
My pleasure. I had a great time.
Bourbon, I mean, it's what it's for, right? We sat and talked and drank and just shared
experiences. Yep.
So yeah, thank you, and hopefully we can have you on again here in January.
Anytime. Love to come back. Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, hey, thank you. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
You too.
Thank you for joining in for yet another episode of the Bourbon Hunters. If you like what you hear, please leave us a good rating on Apple, Podbean, Google, or wherever you are listening. It definitely helps us to get great guests on our show. And follow us on Instagram and the Facebooks to keep up to date with what is in our glass. As always, sit back, grab a pour, kick up your feet, and enjoy some bourbon.